Yeah, so let's go back to the equality at the heart of the Declaration, and the idea of consent, of everyone's different, people are not the same, they're not equal, but they are equal under the law. They are equal as human beings politically, and therefore their consent is required in order to have governments take place. In some way, right? We're not all pushing. The idea wasn't we're all pushing a button, voting on everything. They knew that would be disastrous, but that at the end of the day, the consent of the people was needed. So how do you think we got to the point where all of a sudden that became the excuse for the sort of thing that Vance was complaining about at the beginning of this, where, oh no, everyone is the same, everyone's equal, therefore we'll spread democracy throughout the globe. And we can just interchange everyone with everyone else like a bunch of Lego bricks. And if 20 million people come here in a few years, that's fine. We're all just equal. How did that happen? Particularly on the right, because that rhetoric, that carried the day. That's why Vance felt like he had to make this qualification.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit of a long story. It has to do with the importation of a lot of bad ideas from various European philosophers, including Rousseau and Hegel, the development of the administrative state based on rational state theory. It has to do with the sexual revolution and the cultural revolution from the 1960s, moral relativism, the idea that there should be no limits on my whims or my desires. Being free means being able to do whatever I want, fulfilling every low passion that I may have. So it's a long and it's a complicated story. It's partly intellectual and philosophical. It's partly cultural. It's partly, to some small degree, every society that becomes successful and prosperous has to guard against this danger. And the founders were aware of that, by the way. Success and prosperity can be dangerous in the sense that it encourages people to become complacent and soft and self-indulgent. And we had a little bit of that. Certainly right after the Cold War ended, we all thought, well, the enemies are gone. We can sit back now. We can indulge, become a hedonistic, self-indulgent society that just devotes its time to, online pornography and shopping and fast food, and we don't need the spirit of self-government anymore. So it's a long and complicated story about how we got here. But the key point, I think, is the left's understanding of equality is literally the mirror image of what Jefferson and Madison and Washington were talking about. For them, there's a great line, as you know, in the Federalist paper, that the different and unequal faculties of acquiring property is the first object of government. What they meant by that is government is supposed to protect our different abilities, right? It's supposed to lead to different outcomes. And that happens because when everyone starts in the same place, right? A race is only fair if everyone starts at the same place. That's political equality. And then the fastest person can win. You don't rig the race in order to make everyone finish the same way. Right. That's what the left is doing, right? The founders wanted everyone to start out equal with equal natural rights and then wind up in different places. And the left's version turns that upside down, right? Some of us are oppressors, some of us are oppressed, and it's government's job to smooth all that out and make us all equal.
It's
mirror image.
Apply this to the Trump administration's struggles right now. You see this is at the core of, American political philosophy. And right now you see the Trump administration engaged in all manner of battles. How do you see this principle at play in the battles that are taking place there?
Look, Trump is trying to, for the first time in a long while, is taking seriously the idea that the people in this country are sovereign. Now that's a multifaceted war. I think the stuff that Doge is still doing, it's a little bit off the radar now, but I know some people who work there. They're still plugging away. They're still finding all the misuse of money, all the misallocation. And by the way, just a little thing on Doge. Again, I wish the rhetoric were a little bit better sometimes. I don't think the focus should be so much on wasteful spending and efficiency. You can have an efficient tyranny, right? North Korea is a very efficient tyranny. We don't necessarily want efficiency. The problem is all of this stuff was done without our consent. It was an offense to our independence. It was an offense to our liberties to have money being misused in this way to support various left-wing causes without our knowledge or consent, right? And so I wish it was not so much the Department of Government Efficiency as the Department of, the sovereignty of the people or the rule of law or constitutional limits or something like that, which focuses a little bit more on the real problem. But Trump is doing a lot of things. I mean, just to get the executive branch and the bureaucracy back under the control of the elected president is a huge first step. We need Congress to do its job. That's going to be a long-term challenge. But I think Trump, he's talking about the right things. He's only been in office for 6 months. It took us, by some accounting, 50 years, by some accounting, 100 years to get to this low point in American politics. It's going to take more than 6 months to fix it. So I cut the president a little bit of slack, and I encourage people to give him a chance. It's going to take more than a few months to fix this problem that took decades or a century to get us to this point.
Yeah, well said. What strikes me about Trump is really it's astounding in a way, and I'm curious your thoughts as to why. How does it take Donald J. Trump, who is not a scholar of the Declaration, I don't think, but he understands some very important things, to reassert the sovereignty of the people and not care about, all this other crap where, just to give some examples, right? There was no one else in the Republican Party who was like, wait a minute, a lot of you are pro-life. You want pro-life judges? Okay, well, I'll give you those. That was the way he thought about that was, these are the people who voted for me. I got to give them what they want. He thinks about that. He thinks about it in this way. How does it take Trump? And why did all these other people not get this basic point that you actually exist to allow the consent of the governed to flourish?
I think we underestimate how powerful the orthodoxy is, the establishment orthodoxy. It's a bipartisan phenomena. I would say, unfortunately, the majority of Republican members of Congress are not very reliable. They've bought into the establishment orthodoxy. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want fundamental change. This is a big problem we're going to have to fix over the long term. And Trump has always been an outsider. In a way, the fact that he is pretty clearly not an intellectual is probably one of his most important virtues, which means he hasn't bought into all the intellectual BS about the scientific class and the rule of the experts. And, Trump doesn't give a flying falafel about what most experts tell him. His biggest mistakes in the first term were when he deferred to the experts, right? Like Fauci and Bricks and the rest of them. He's better off following his instincts, right? His gut tells him this is right and this is wrong. And we live in such a weird, deranged time in which this overwhelmingly powerful official establishment orthodoxy, which has been destroying American liberty for 50 years, is so powerful and so bipartisan that it takes a kind of anti-intellectual, manly, independent, weird guy who runs by the seat of his pants to do the right things by instinct. And in a way, you wouldn't always want that under normal circumstances. But right now, that's actually what the country needs. And so I'm a pretty big defender of Trump's virtues, acknowledging his vices, but that kind of radical outsider who's never accepted the establishment orthodoxy is exactly what the country needs.
Yeah, it is just remarkable because there's no one else who has done any of this on the Republican side for decades or even tried. And now we at least see the right fighting and trying. I wouldn't say everyone in the administration is on board, but much better than last time, and Trump is on board. He's working long days. This is what he does now. This is how he's going to, essentially die in his public career. He's clearly locked in, as the kids say, and this is what he's doing. So let's talk about the obstacles to that. Both of us can easily go back to the before times. Everyone's happy right now because we see Trump doing a lot. A lot of things are happening. It used to be nothing ever happens. Now I say everything happens all the time. That's the news cycle now. It's a great time to be doing what I'm doing. But when you look at it now, the obstacles that we were talking about a few years ago, because you said earlier, mentioned woke hasn't gone away. They haven't gone away. And if we're honest with ourselves, we would have these discussions at Claremont sometimes where you'd say, look, if you did do the thought experiment where you take the founders writing the Declaration, right, and you put them in the society now, I mean, I don't know if they even think it was worth, it's like this is so far gone, right? And when you start working through all those issues, that's a very dark scene, right? Because these people were willing to revolt for, very serious reasons. But the way in which, our rights and liberties, the way in which our consent has been taken away it's daunting, right? To when you look at it. And so on the one hand, I don't want to see people, doom and black pill and say, oh, this is always terrible. But politics is politics. It's messy. It's astounding what's happening now. We have never seen anything like this happen in our lifetimes. On the other hand, we don't want to gloss over the fact that a year ago we were saying in a plausible way, at least I remember in private conversations, I was saying to people, if you rewrite the Declaration of Independence now, man, you have even more grievances to some degree than you did then. And so it'd be interesting to get your reflections on that moving forward. I mean, what would some of the grievances be now? And because that could help embolden a lot of people on the right to continue this fight that Trump has started.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole establishment orthodoxy, which includes the government bureaucracy, but also academia and popular culture, is in a war against human nature. Lincoln famously said that both the North and the South read the same Bible and prayed to the same God. We are so far from that now, right? I mean, at least during the American Revolution, England was still a Christian country. It still recognized human nature. Both North and South still read the same Bible and prayed to the same God. We've even lost that. I mean, the left now is in a war against human nature. It doesn't recognize the authority of nature. It thinks you can turn little boys into little girls by giving children, hormone therapy and surgical reassignment therapy. A Supreme Court justice says she doesn't know the difference between a man and a woman. I mean, we're much worse off, and that points to the two challenges we have. And one, Trump is focusing on necessarily. He's the elected president, so he has to focus on the institutional challenges. But the other great challenge we have is, and this is where the culture people, in terms of the creed and culture debate, are right, is we've got a tremendous amount of work to do to recover the habits and the attitudes and the spirit and the opinions among the people that make self-government work. That is very, very degraded now. I mean, even if we get out the millions of illegal aliens who really, have no desire to be Americans, as far as I can see, didn't come here with the desire to be Americans. Even if we were to expel the 50 or whatever million illegal aliens, we've still got a lot of work to do with with the people here who've lost touch with all the important moral, political, intellectual, cultural habits and opinions that are necessary to make self-government work. So we have an institutional problem, and we have what you might call the problem of the people, right? Mm-hmm. You could call this the form and the matter. We've got to fix the forms, the institutions, but we've got to fix the matter. That is, we need to get the people themselves back to the kind of spirited, moderate, virtuous habits that make self-government work. And that's a very difficult and long-term project.
Well, I'd say there's two ways to do that in terms of education. One is formal education, and the kind of stuff that we do and that you do so much of at Claremont is so essential to teach leaders on the right these things. And the other is what we're doing right now, which is media, right? For everyone, which surrounds us all throughout our lives. And so this is really, what you point to is a task of statesmanship when it comes to educating people, either through direct education or through media itself. It's so needed right now. And, we're grateful for the work that you do at Claremont and have done for a long time. And
I'm grateful for the work you do, Matt.
Yeah, we're doing it. It's a great time to be alive. I have to ask you though, because you also spent time in the federal government, I believe as a speechwriter, right? Maybe among other things. But so you were in the federal government for a long time. What sort of advice do you have for both the audience watching and the people in that administration in order to actually implement Trump's agenda and the mandate?
All right, so I was there before Trump, and so that the revolutionary spirit wasn't really there. Unfortunately, I was in a Republican administration that was sort of part of the old problem, right? It was pretty conventional. It was part of the establishment orthodoxy. So I would say, and by the way, a lot of the Claremont Institute fellows that I've had the privilege to know and teach are in the administration now, some in pretty senior positions, and that's encouraging and heartening. I would say be as revolutionary as you can. Take Trump's bold spirit, take his the spirit of take no prisoners. Don't listen to what the cowards and the timid people tell you. Push as hard as you can. If you're in a low-level position, you can push as hard as you can because someone's going to try to stop you somewhere up and down the line. So there's no reason to hold back, right? You can't go too far. So I would say push and be aggressive as possible in the most prudent way, without causing damage and without doing anything illegal. But push the president's agenda as hard as you can. The problem that we're facing is not that we're going too slow, it's that we're not going fast enough. And so everyone who's in a position to put the pedal to the metal should do it.
Amen to that. We want to see more of that. And we talk about that every day and try to encourage those people because right now, as you know, there's other people in the ear of the president and, everyone in the administration who's saying, oh, we should not focus on this. We shouldn't go this hard. And I mean, that's pretty much Washington as normal, right? We were saying the other day on the show, Mike Howell said, will MAGA get eaten by the swamp or will, the swamp eat MAGA? Or, which is going to happen? Is going to the worst thing that could happen, right? Is my greatest fear is that MAGA Maha gets subsumed into Washington, D.C.
Right, absolutely. Which is why every carpe diem, seize every day. I mean, my friends there, anyone who's listening, anyone who's had the opportunity to be educated by Claremont, go in every day with the attitude, I have to make this day count, achieve as much change as possible, be as revolutionary as possible, as radical as possible, because it could all grind to a halt tomorrow. So just full throttle every day.
Glenn Ellmers, thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt.